This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hi there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to yet another Sports Catastrophe Year in Memoriam as I take a look at the year in sports and the famous people who died in the world of sports. Now, of course, not everyone's list will be the same. You know, it's up for interpretation who you think was a champion and all that. So as you can see in the graphic, I had 23 people who were famous die. Now that's bigger than last year's. My red board last year only had 18 names, whereas 2022 has 23 names. But nothing compares to 2020. One of my first sports catastrophe videos was, paying tribute to 40 members of the sports crew that died. 40. 4-0. But yeah, 2022 was still devastating. I mean, day one, we lost somebody. Dan Reeves, who was the head coach of Denver when they lost 5 Super Bowls in history. He was a good coach. I mean, to get Denver to the Super Bowl in the first place, only to be creamed by San Francisco, I believe only once. Yeah, Denver lost to the Giants, then the Skins, then the Niners. Of course, I know a lot of people said about the whole Washington nickname thing is that's what they were named at the time, and I go with that theory. But still, you know what you want. So anyway, Dan Reeves, yeah, he did win a Super Bowl. I remember Super Bowl 5. He was part of the Dallas Cowboys team that won that Super Bowl. No, Super Bowl 6. Excuse me. But anyway, yeah, Dan Reeves was always known for wearing a suit on the sidelines, even though that it was like cold and most coaches would wear just jackets and sweaters and all that. But yeah, but Reeves would casually dress better, and yeah, he was the Giants head coach in '93 in the '93-'94 season when they blew their chance to be number one overall in the NFC by losing on the final week to the Cowboys. But Reeves helped Atlanta get to Super Bowl 34 or 33, excuse me, against the Broncos, ironically losing to his former team. So yeah, that's sad. The second death was Charlie Taylor, 80 years old. Washington retired as number 42. He was a great wide receiver in the 60s, 70s for Washington. And, I know it's weird seeing number 42 as a wide receiver, but remember, numbering conventions were different in the 60s and before 1972. And then since, 2020? Wide receivers can wear single digit numbers. Neck. I don't like that. I know the CFL does that, but yeah, Charlie Taylor was pretty good with Washington. And then the same day, the Cat Francis died at age 95. He was Rangers royalty. I mean, the guy played for the New York Rangers too. He was even a goalie that revolutionized the goalie catching mitt. People forget about that. And he stepped in to be coach GM in the 50s and 60s, and he would do some nice things. And yeah, he made some questionable moves, including getting rid of Ed Jockerman on Halloween, and then ironically 2 days later, the Rangers would be facing Detroit on home turf. He made some weird trades, trading with Rick Middleton in his prime, and trading with Andy Bathgate for 5 nobodies, except Rod Sealing wasn't that bad. But yeah, even though Cat Francis was legendary, at 95, he lived a full life. And then in March, we started off with the deaths with Shane Warne, who was an Australian cricket icon. Now, I don't talk about cricket enough on my channel, but still, I think Shane Warne was a very good cricket person. He would be what they call a bowler or a pitcher, if you will. And he would get a lot of wickets or outs, if you will. He was iconic. He played in England for a while. The English loved him, loved to make fun of his weight and all that. But yeah, Shane Warne was a playboy, if you will. At 52, he was gone way too soon and all that. And then 10 days later, we saw wrestling. I know wrestling's not really a real sport and all that, but this death was shocking because Razor Ramon, or Scott Hall as he was real, was 63 years old. He had surgery, and then he died from complications from surgery. So, yeah, it was just awkward, you know. He was great in the. He was in WCW for a while. Was he Vinny Vegas? I think he was Vinny Vegas. And then he went to WCW to become a Razor Ramon. Hey yo, say hello to the bad guy. And then he had a few great runs with the Intercontinental Belt. He had that famous ladder match with Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 10, and then you know he got tired and went to WCW alongside Kevin Nash, and he was 1/3 of the NWO with Hulk Hogan being the other member alongside Nash. But yeah, he was huge as Scott Hall and all that. And then he came back to the WWE in 2002 once WCW was bought out. And part of the NWO, he was not really that impressive. He had some drug issues and all that. He was cleaning himself up because of Diamond Dallas Page and his yoga thing. So yeah, Razor Ramon, I don't think was really a complete bad guy, but drugs and partying do take a stab at you. And then March 16th, Ralph Terry died at age 86. He was a very good pitcher for the New York Yankees. He was on both ends of famous Game 7s in the 1960s. In 1960, he was the pitcher who gave up that home run on the 1-0 pitch to Bill Mazeroski in Game 7 of the World Series at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. That got the Pittsburgh Pirates the title, despite the fact that the Yankees really outscored the Pirates by 28 runs, if memory serves me right, throughout that 7-game series. But then, the Pirates won. When the Yankees won, they scored a lot of runs. When the Pirates won, it was tight-knit. And then in 1962, he was on the belt for Game 7 against the Giants in San Francisco. And he nearly was the first pitcher to lose 2 Game 7s, as Willie McCovey's ball was, if it was a few inches higher, it would have scored 2 runs and made it 2-1 Giants. But Bobby Richardson speared it. And Charlie Brown famously, in a February strip, 1963, says, why couldn't McCovey hit the ball 2 feet higher? That's true. But yeah, Ralph Terry won that Game 7 and won the World Series MVP in 1962, as you see on my thing. Next up is Dwayne Haskins, who died on my birthday, April the 9th. Now, I don't do a lot of people think, oh, Dwayne Haskins, he wasn't much. Well, if you're a college football fan like I am, he was big for Ohio State. He was basically the guy that JT Barrett always wanted to be. I think that Haskins was decent, but not as decent as Troy Brown or Terrell Pryor, but still. He was a good Ohio State quarterback. He was great in the Haskins didn't really have that big of an NFL career with Washington and Pittsburgh. He was going to be aiming to be the number 1 starter for Pittsburgh this season. Unfortunately, though, Haskins was mowed down. He crashed his car, and then he was trying to probably get help, but unfortunately he got hit and he died. And that's just sad how, 24 years old, he could have been Pittsburgh's starting quarterback this year, but he just died, and it just shocked me. And then you see the 2 deaths after Haskins, back-to-back Fridays of sadness. Mike Bossy, everyone knew he had the stomach cancer or the lung cancer, I think it was. But anyway, Mike Bossy, iconic for the New York Islanders. I know that as a partial New York Ranger fan, I hate the Islanders with every bit of my body. But Mike Bossy was a powerful sniper. He was a true sniper and a true gentleman, if you will. Some say Bossy would definitely have been the goal-scoring king if it wasn't for injuries, because he always had back issues. And the guy scored 50 or more goals in 9 straight seasons. Not even Gretzky did that. And that's hard to believe. But yeah, Mike Bossy was a natural sniper. He retired too early because of his back. But he played for one team with the Islanders, so, that's great. And the ironic part about Bossy's death was that, the Islanders were in Montreal for that Friday night game. And Bossy was, I think, doing commentary for TVA, a French network. But anyway, yeah, Bossy was, it took a couple days before Bossy died. And then you have Guy Lafleur, April 22nd. He was 70 years old. 5 years older than Bossy. He was the sniper of the 70s. Bossy could have been the sniper of the 80s if it wasn't for his back. But Lafleur was just that huge. He was huge for Montreal. I mean, Montreal got lucky with the number 1 pick in the 1971 draft because of a shrewd trade between Sam Pollock and the California Golden Seals, banking that the Golden Seals would be the worst team in 1971 so that they take the number 1 pick from California and make it their own. In fact, Pollock traded Ralph Backstrom to Los Angeles to make sure that LA was not the worst team in the NHL. So it was either Lafleur or Dion. They both were pretty powerful guys in major junior hockey. Guy Lafleur was major personified for the Quebec Ramparts. Number 4, Saint Michel Belleville's number, but yeah, he had the expectations in the French Canadian Society, and he did not let that get to him. He was perfect. People forget that for the first few seasons, he was timid. He wasn't really scoring a lot of goals, and he wore a helmet. Once he took the bucket off, boom, he put up 50 goal seasons like candy, and he was the sniper. And let's not forget his 1979 goal against Boston in Game 7 of the semifinals that tied the game and set the stage for Yvan Lambert to come out of freaking nowhere and get the title. So that's what happened. I mean, and Lafleur had some problems in the 80s. He was slowing down. His off-ice actions were harsh and all that sometimes. He came back. He was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 1985. And then all of a sudden, no, he was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame. And then all of a sudden, he decides to join the New York Rangers out of freaking nowhere, becoming only the second Hall of Famer to be in the Hall of Fame and then come back and play in his career. Gordie Howe was the first, and Mario Lemieux was the third and final one. But anyway, yeah, Guy Lafleur did that. It was amazing. And then he spent one final season with the Quebec Nordiques, kind of a farewell tour. And the last game was at home ice on the ice of the Quebec Coliseum against the Montreal Canadiens. Lafleur was an ambassador, but unfortunately, lung cancer got him. I remember that day because I was actually setting up for our soil compound for Canadian Tire and all that. And then, I went back after a while of no customers. I was allowed to go back inside and just do some cardboard at Canadian Tire. And then I checked my phone and I'm like, what the hell? And then I told Pete, one of my co-workers who's a big Habs fan, all that, saying that, Guy Lafleur just died, all that. Anyway, the strange thing was that May and June may have had some sports deaths, but nothing that was impactful for me. So it took till the end of July before I got the next one, and that was Bill Russell. Well, Bill Russell, 88 years old, he lived a pretty good life and all that. Bill Russell was just that damn dominant as a center, not just for the Celtics, but people forget that he was a 2-time national champion with the San Fran Dons, the University of San Francisco, which had Casey Jones there too. But Bill Russell almost went, was it to the Hawks or something? I can't remember. Boston pulled off a shrewd move to get Bill Russell's draft rights for the Ice Capades or something. I don't know if that was the story. But anyway, yeah, Bill Russell. Boston moved heaven and earth to get that guy. And it worked out. Boston won those 8 straight titles from 1959 to 1966. It was amazing. Bill Russell was just that damn dominant in the perimeter game. Russell's matchups with Will Chamberlain were historic. It was Russell, Chamberlain, and everyone else, as it seems, for centers. Bill Russell could get rebounds, he could score points, he could be an imposing presence, and he had Boston win 8 titles. Russell would then become player coach when they won 1969 against the Lakers in Game 7 on Los Angeles' turf. But, he retired after that. I mean, he won 11 championships. For hockey puck's sake. Like, you know how hard it is to win 5 championships as a player nowadays in the modern leagues? Like in the 2020s? He put up 11. Bill Russell's name is attached to the MVP of the finals now, which is a fitting tribute. And the NBA has retired his number 6 league-wide. Although they did say that people like LeBron would, if they were number 6, they would be grandfathered. That they could wear number 6 for the rest of their career, but then, after they're done, that's it. Because they did that when 42 was retired for Jackie Robinson by MLB. Mo Rivera and Mo Vaughn and a few other players were 42, but they were allowed to keep that number. But yeah, Bill Russell was amazing, and number 6 will never be retired by anyone else. Nor that they would to. I mean, who else was famous who wore number 6 other than LeBron? Anyway, and then a couple of days later, I would be remiss to see that one of the greatest sports voices of all time, Vin Scully, died at 94. I mean, you look at the top line with Vin Scully, the top line, that's impressive enough. But let's not forget that he was actually a big voice for CBS and NBC doing sports coverage. Vin Scully did NFL games. People forget about that. People forget that Vin Scully was the guy who called the catch between San Fran and Dallas. It wasn't Summerall and Madden. It was Scully and Hank Stram. It was amazing how he could do all that. And he did Masters coverage for CBS. Yes for the title. Yes for player for 1978. Vin Scully did the Masters. Vin Scully did a lot of baseball. CBS, of course, didn't have baseball coverage. I thought they did, but no. In the 60s, but no, I guess not. But anyway, yeah, Vin Scully's career was big. And then he went to NBC, become their baseball voice for 6 years. And he was legendary. 1988 World Series, after Kirk Gibson's home run, he said, "In a season that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened." Yep, he was legendary and all that, but nothing compares to what he's done for the Dodgers franchise. 66 years. I'm only 37 myself, and this guy broadcast for 66 years with the Dodgers organization. Back when it was in Brooklyn, before they moved to LA in '58. The guy took over for Red Barber, which is hard to do, I would imagine, but Vin Scully was just like, how many guys could broadcast 66 years and all that? Not even Musburger or Dick Enberg did that, or even Al Michaels never did that. Still, it's scary. And then you got yourself Len Dawson, August 24th, dying at age 87. Super Bowl IV, being the only quarterback to lead Kansas City to a title before 2020 and Patrick Mahomes. But Len Dawson was great. His number 16 retired by the Chiefs. He was a great quarterback. I mean, name the third best Kansas City quarterback of all time if it's not Dawson or Mahomes. Trent Green, probably. Todd Rockledge, give me a break. Steve Bono, give me a bigger break. But anyway, yeah, Len Dawson was big. I know there was controversies about him being related and close to a mobster, but those rumors were squashed. And yeah, Super Bowl IV was huge because Minnesota was this big bad team for the NFL, and then Len Dawson came out of freaking nowhere to help Kansas City win. And Hank Stram said, keep matriculating the ball down the field. Regardless, that was it. And then September comes with one major death, and that was Maury Wills at age 89. Maury Wills was a speed demon. He was known for his great space running and all that. That's how the Dodgers did well in the 1960s. He put up, 94 steals in one season? And that was the benchmark for a while before Lou Brock got his 105 in 74. But yeah, Maury Wills was just huge. His base stealing was helpful why the Dodgers did so well in the 60s. And people actually forget that Maury Wills actually was part of the original Montreal Expos in 1969 before they traded him back to Los Angeles. But yeah, Maury Wills always bitched about being a major league manager and finally got his chance in 1982, if memory serves me right. Or was it 81? 81. But he made some stupid managerial moves. He would abandon his team and all that. He would try once to extend the batter's box a foot to catch Oakland's curveballs and all that, but that was illegal. Yeah, weird. So then we get to October 1st, and another wrestling death. But this time in the Japanese world. Antonio Inoki Bumbaye, at age 79. He was a wrestling idol. He was a humanitarian. Yeah, if you look up Inoki on Wikipedia, he was He changed things with Islam in 1990, but But Inoki actually, as an Islam, actually managed to get Japanese hostages freed from the Gulf War. And Inoki was part of the great wrestling card in 1995 when he and Ric Flair managed to get WCW and New Japan to have a wrestling card in North Korea in front of over 300,000 combined fans. But I think they were forced to it. Of course, it's North Korea. But yeah, Inoki was huge. Like, he founded New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was an icon. He actually revolutionized mixed martial arts sometimes in his matches. So, like, you know, this was amazing. And then a couple of times he body slammed Andre the Giant before Hulk Hogan did that in 1987, mind you. Inoki at one time was not even the WWE champion, but that was actually not recognized because, the title was in Japan and all that to a non-WWE wrestler and all that. Inoki did give up the title still. Yeah, but everyone remembers Inoki versus Ali. That was a farce. I mean, Inoki almost, the whole fight was down on its back, kicking at Ali's legs. It was so bad that Ali almost had shock or something. I can't remember. But yeah, Inoki didn't want to get boxed out by Ali because of his pelican-like jaw. So still, he was legend. And then October 19th, Charlie Trippy dies at 100 years old. You're thinking, well, why Charlie Trippy? How big was he? Well, if you're an old school Cardinals fan from the days of the Chicago Cardinals, much less the St. Louis or Arizona Cardinals, Charlie Trippy was amazing. He was a member of the 1942 National Championship team with Georgia. He would go on to be a Cardinals legend. Guy was 100 years old. Guy served in World War II, if memory serves me right. I mean, the guy freaking is a century. Like, how many NFL players ever have hit the 100 mark? I think only 2, but Charlie Trippy was a legend. And, to me, the one thing that ticks me off the most is that, the Cardinals were playing at home on Thursday Night Football, and I should have picked the Cardinals to win, but I didn't, because they were going to rely on Charlie Trippy's staff and then, the spirit world. But as is, 100 years old. And he played for the 1942 National Championship team, and he was still living. That's amazing. Then November came of a pair. November 3rd, Ray Guy was 72 years old when he died. Great punter for Oakland, and people were like, Oakland drafted a punter in the first round in the 1970s. It was like unbelievable. First round. You rarely have a kicker or punter in the first round. But Oakland took their things. Ray Guy was known for his hang time punts and all that. That's why there's a hang time clock nowadays. But yeah, he was known for his punting and helping the Raiders win, 3 titles in his tenure? 2 or 3. But anyway, Ray Guy was big for some to miss. Brett Favre's alma mater. But still, Ray Guy could punt the ball huge, and he was legendary. And then November 24th, on U.S. Thanksgiving, I remember that because I was working, and that was when the Bills and Lions were playing. Borje Salming passed away at age 71. Of course, it's a little bit biased. It's biased enough as I am a Leaf fan. But still, Borje Salming was a giant of a man. I mean, he was a great player for Sweden, and Toronto drafted him, brought him over to North America, where people thought Swedes were very soft. Harold Ballard even thought so. The Leafs owner even thought so. But fortunately, because of Ballard's troubles, he went to jail for a year, and that was when Salming was brought to the Leafs. People thought he was soft because he was European, but no, Salming was a rough, tough guy, and he was tough. He had toughness, and Ballard warmed up to him. Borje Salming was the key defenseman in the 70s for the Leafs. Sorry, Ian Turnbull. But yeah, Borje Salming was huge. With Daryl Sittler and Lenny McDonald, the trilogy of Leafs in the 70s. Salming lasted till 1989 in the NHL, or for the Leafs at the least, and then played 1 season with the Red Wings. I don't know why he went to another team to play in the NHL. Just can't fathom that. But yeah, Borje Salming was a legend for the Leafs. And let's not forget 1986 when he had that gruesome injury that he got slashed in the face, but skate blade slashed in the face accidentally by Gerald Gallant, who's now the Rangers head coach. But anyway, yes, you're 300 stitches. Can you 200 to 300 stitches? Can you imagine? Can you fathom that? But unfortunately, Barry before July 2022 was diagnosed with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, and he lost function to speak, and the week before he died, he was feted at the Hockey Hall of Fame game in Toronto. He was feted, and the Leaf fans were like, the tears just came by. It was such an amazing moment, and then a week later he died. So tragic for Leaf fans like myself. And then December came with 6 deaths in December. 6. Can you imagine that? No month had more than 3. So it all started December 1st, a month ago. Gaylord Perry, 84 years old, died. 2-time Cy Young winner with the Padres and the Indians, if memory serves me right. And, he was known for his spinner, even though it was really illegal. Like, they outlawed that pitch in 1920. But yeah, he was known for stuff, Vaseline, K-Bar jelly, that kind of stuff. Reggie Jackson did not like being struck out by him a lot. Perry was only thrown out once for his shenanigans, which was shocking. But yeah, Gaylord Perry was big. But I mean, his spitball wasn't all that effective. I mean, after all, he would be winning 20 games year after year after year, but he never did that. Gaylord Perry bounced around a lot. But yeah, San Diego and Cleveland love him for it. And I agree. Oh no, wait a minute. San Francisco, he was a legend for the Giants in the 60s. And then December 12th came and Mike Leach died. Maybe thinking, who? Well, he was an active NCAA coach when he died. He died of some kind of medical malady. But I mean, Mississippi State was headed to the EverQuest Bowl. If I remember correctly, that's what the Outback Bowl is called now. And that's tomorrow against Illinois. So yeah, it's shocking Mississippi State against Illinois. Oh, that Mike Leach, he was amazing because Texas Tech, even though they weren't the best team around in Texas, and they were decent, his air raid offense was huge. Graham Harrell, B.J. Simmons, probably a little bit of towards Patrick Mahomes, but Texas Tech quarterbacks would be throwing for yards after yards after yards after yards. Not Cliff Kingsbury. I think that was before Mike Leach's time. But still, yeah, Mike Leach was amazing and all that. And Mississippi State was looking good, winning the Egg Bowl, and then, looking forward to this match to Illinois, not on New Year's Day, but the day after. But yeah, so sad. And ironically enough, in my video game tournament from the NCAA Super Cup, the Mississippi State got all the way to the quarterfinals, if memory serves me right. Yeah. Like, they won the first game before he died, and then they won 2 games after his death and got to the quarterfinals before North Carolina beat them. But still, that's amazing. December 19th, a week later, Tom Browning died. I know you're thinking, Tom Browning? Phooey. I mean, he was Cincinnati's best pitcher for many years. Cincy hasn't had too many great starters over the years, except for maybe Johnny Vandermeer and Epa Rixey. And maybe Jose Rijo. But still, I mean, the Reds, he pitched a perfecto in 1988 against Dodgers, and that game only lasted 1 hour and 52 minutes. Can you imagine a baseball game lasting less than 2.5 hours nowadays? I know they're doing the pitch clock to try to fix this problem, but still, Tom Browning was good and all that. He was a great Cincy pitcher, and he'll always will be. And then, I'm preparing for Tom Browning's thing, and then December 20th, I remember I was just finishing up my lunch break and just scrolling down Facebook just minutes before I was ready to go back on the floor. And then all of a sudden, it says Franklin Harris died. And I'm like, are you for real? And then it's like, oh my God, he's dead. Because I remember Franklin Harris was going to be feted that Saturday on Christmas Eve. He was going to be feted by the Steelers. He was going to get his number 32 retired. He should have had his number retired beforehand, like years before. But still, his 32 was retired at halftime of the game on Christmas Eve against the Raiders. Ironically enough, they were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. I know, not right on the date, because that happened December 23rd, 1972. But still, Raiders Steelers again. And yeah, Franco Harris was known for the immaculate reception. And unfortunately, film cameras at that time, they didn't have as many angles as they do nowadays. But, Franco Harris apparently caught it off the shoe top. And people were saying that if the ball had hit Frenchie Fuqua before Harris touched it, then that's illegal. Two offensive players can't touch that. 1978, they changed that rule. But, yeah, it was just awkward, the immaculate reception. But he was a good running back, too. He piled up yards after yards. He was in a great backfield with Rocky Blyer, pardon. And, Franco Harris was Pittsburgh personified. He was the running back that Jerome Bettis became, if you will. Yeah, it was so sad. He was going to be on the field for that Saturday game against number 32 retired and all that. They still went through with everything, obviously. But yeah, that was shocking for Pittsburgh Steelers fans. I mean, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, they lost potentially their starting quarterback, Dwayne Haskins, to death, and now Franco Harris. And then comes Christmas Eve, and in a death that I never found out about until I just luckily scrolled and caught the ESPN Facebook thing saying about Kathy Whitworth. Now you would think yourself, Kathy Whitworth. Yeah, she was an LPGA legend, but look at the line: 88 titles in the LPGA. She had more tournament wins than anyone, man or woman. You're thinking Sam Snead. She had more than Sam Snead. Snead has like 81 or something like that. I mean, when she wins more tournaments than Sam Snead, that's just amazing. But Kathy Whitworth, yeah, it was. Unfortunately, I caught that death too late to fully do a proper tribute to Kathy Whitworth because I usually try to do it the day within 24 hours because, gotta get it out there. But yeah, 88 titles, that's amazing what you could do. 88 golf titles. If you win 10 titles a year, you have to do it for 9 years and all that. That's hard to do. It's hard to win 10 titles in the PGA or LPGA nowadays. I don't think that's been done for many years. And of course, the last death was the one they say greatest soccer star ever. December 29th, Pele at 82. Pele was apparently close to death's door for the past 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, he finally succumbed on December 29th, 82 years old. What can I say about Pele? I know that I do tributes to it, and you got to go through my list. All you have to do on Sports Cutter Historical is just say tribute, and you'll find the tributes and all that. But still, I wish I did a playlist for that. I didn't think I'd be doing 23 tributes in 1 year or something like that. But yeah, Pele. What can I say about Pele? Guy was 17 years old when he was in the World Cup final in 1958 against Sweden. His famous volley goal is just sublime. Pele may have got hurt in 1962, but Brazil had enough talent to win the World Cup without his injury in the second game. And then, of course, Pele was so respected and so feared in 1966 that Hungary and Portugal, in group matches against Pele, hacked him and ruined Brazil's momentum. But in 1970, they decided not to. I think it was mostly because of the yellow and red card rules finally being in effect. So Pele was just there. In 1970, he scored that famous 100th Brazilian World Cup goal in the final against Italy, and then he helped set up Carlos Alberto for the goal of the tournament in 1970, one of the greatest team goals ever. Well, that Pele was just huge with his feints and his power. Santos in Brazil really liked him. There was a rule in 1961 that Pele couldn't play for another team outside of Brazil because it was called a national treasure. Wish Canada did that with Wayne Gretzky, but whatever. But Pele was huge for Santos. He would score his 1,000th goal as a Santos member. It's hard to score 1,000 goals. Like, if you score 30 goals a year throughout all competitions, you got to do it for 30 years. Like 50, you have to do it for 20 years. And a soccer player's career is usually like 12, 13 years, tops. But yeah, Pele was so powerful. He went to the States and revitalized the North American Soccer League. Although it did bring a lot of European influx to the league, mostly to try to keep the books in balance. But still, Pele helped New York win the 1977 title. His final match ever at Giant Stadium was huge. 80,000 fans at Giant Stadium and an ABC Wide World Sports audience playing one half for Santos, one half for the Cosmos. Yeah, he helped the U.S. do well in soccer and all that. And Pele was just goddamn dominant and player of the century. I mean, who do you think is better than Pele? Not Messi, not Maradona, not even Mbappe, probably. But yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this um, in memoriam thing, special video and all that. I don't know about for 35 minutes, but it's worth it to talk at length with these guys and what they did. So may God bless all of our deceased for 2022. And sorry about the bottom. It's supposed to be a heart is greater than hate. And that was supposed to be a skull and crossbones. But I can't draw, so it doesn't matter. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Jeff Diamond. And hopefully you'll still watch my sports catastrophes and my kind of historical stuff online. I do.